Okay, good evening. We are going to begin with the Activities Committee meeting. And before I read the statement about public comment, I don't know if anyone signed up for public comment outside. But before we do public comment tonight, I did want to just let everyone know there is an item on the agenda about high school graduation. And there were some, concerns in the community that were expressed about that item. And I just wanted to, before we discuss it tonight, to let you know that this is purely informational. No decisions will be made this evening on that agenda item. It's the beginning of a whole process. We had asked over a year ago originally to have a study done to see what the difference was between having it at Stabler and having it here at home at Pennridge. And this is just an updated version of that study. So again, there won't be any decisions made this evening. It's just the beginning, an informational process. So with that said, I will read the statement about public comment. The Pennridge School Board welcomes public comment. According to Policy 903, we remind everyone of the following. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified by the board. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and note their name and municipality. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer rather than to individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. A speaker may speak once during each comment period. Please note that these sessions are designated for comments. To protect the confidentiality and privacy rights of all members of our community, the board encourages members of the public to direct any comments regarding particular individuals, such as students or district employees, privately to the superintendent or other appropriate administrators or board members, or to communicate with the board and superintendent privately by sending an email to psdschoolboard@pennridge.org. Questions raised and not addressed may be followed up at a later time. So I have 3 people who are listed for public comment, but if you want to comment, you can raise your hand if you didn't sign this paper. The first person on the list is Carol Miller.
I'd like to wait until, I'm right here, until I hear the information about graduation.
Okay.
And I'd like to comment then.
There will be public comment at the end, too.
Thank you.
Excuse me for a moment. It was Lisa? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was Melissa. Yes, please. The next person on the list is Dawn Ferber. Okay, oh no, that's fine. And Jennifer Pohl.
I'll just wait till the end.
Okay. So the first item on our agenda, and I guess I'll wait a moment until you. Sorry. Okay. The first item on the agenda is overnight field trips, and the first trip up is the PASC State Leadership Conference.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Cullen. Most of the trips on the agenda tonight are trips that have run for several years in a row. The first 2, Mr. Dyer is here if there's any questions. The first one is the PASC Leadership Conference. This year that's going to be held at Cedar Crest High School in Lebanon. And the dates for that are November 8th to November 10th. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Dyer regarding that trip?
It's not really about this trip. I was just curious. I remember years ago, Pennridge hosted and we had some kids stay with us. And I was wondering have we hosted recently or when we might be hosting again?
The last time that we hosted was 2009. We did have host families at the time where the kids from the outside districts would stay with our residents here in the Pennridge community. We are on somewhat of a rotation for hosting schools. Right now we have 141 participating schools, but out of that 141 we probably only have about 33 that can host an event this size. So our turn will be coming up again, probably within the next 5 years. And we no longer do the host families for safety and security. It was a challenge trying to get clearances of all the members of the households and stuff like that. So the PASC organization went away from the host family setup. Remember, it's not hotel-based. That way we can make sure security of the participants, students, and staff is a premium. So, yeah, we definitely were excited. We had a great time hosting it. 10 years ago, it was very exciting. The kids, it was energetic here at the building. Kids learned a lot about leadership and had a lot of fun. So we're definitely excited about doing it again.
Okay, the second trip is the high school baseball trip in March 15th through March 17th, 2019. And that is a trip that has run, that's a team bonding trip that is in the Poconos. Any questions about that one or anything you're looking to find out from Mr. Dyer? They've run that several years now, pretty successful. They don't miss school to do this. They leave after dismissal on a Friday and they're back at school on Monday. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dyer.
Thank you.
The next one, the next two are ski trips. The first one is to Killington, Vermont in February 1st through February 3rd. And students are back in school on Monday. And Jason's here if there's any questions about that trip. Again, this is a trip that has run, I would say, successfully.
15 years, I think, at least.
And there's any difference?
No, it's all the same.
So,
Yeah, it depends on availability with the bus company and the hotel, but typically it's the weekend after Super Bowl. Again, it depends on availability.
it's a great trip. Thank you.
I had a question. I noticed the dates are different on the dates listed on the agenda and then what's listed in the attached document. So I was wondering which dates were correct.
It depends on availability. Right now we're shooting for the weekend after, I don't have a calendar in front of me. I believe it's the weekend after Super Bowl. Is that what you're seeing?
Well, on the agenda it says Friday, February 1st to Sunday,
Oh,
February 3rd.
I'm sorry, so that's the weekend before Super Bowl.
Right. But then on the attached document it says Friday, February 2nd
I might have just missed that.
to
date.
Sunday,
I apologize.
February 4th.
It's the Friday to Sunday, whatever that weekend is.
In 2019, February 1st is a Friday.
Yeah, so that would be the
Okay.
dates we're looking at. I apologize for that.
And the second trip is the ski and snowboard trip to California. And a little bit of the benefit this year, the way the school calendar was set up, is that Friday and Monday now aren't lost to weather makeup days. So students would definitely not miss time there. So this one's running Friday, February 15th through Tuesday, February 19th. That Tuesday is an in-service day as well, so students don't miss. Any questions about that one for Jason?
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I just, Lake Tahoe, I've been there. Where are you going? Which mountain?
We're going to stay in North Lake, and right now we're looking to ski at Squaw, Alpine, and North Star. We tried to do this trip last year, but with flights flying into Reno, it's a smaller airport, we just couldn't make it work, time frame and financially. So with next year's calendar, where it's the Friday, Monday, Tuesday, it should be a lot easier. From the preliminary research that we did, it should be a lot more feasible because of that. So we're looking to stay in the North Lake area. We've looked at some housing options, and they have the most opportunity. Once you get towards South Lake, they're out of our price range. So.
Real
Yes, sir.
quick, I see that you have Philly and Newark listed?
Yes.
That's Newark, okay. And are you doing that for pricing
Yes,
purposes?
yes.
Okay.
So it all depends. So the first 2 years we went to Utah, and we flew out of Philadelphia both times. We actually got rerouted and came back to Newark because of a plane issue. And then last year we flew out of Newark. And we work with a travel agent in the area, and it's all dependent upon times, prices, etc.
Gotcha.
We'd love to fly to Lehigh Valley, but I don't think they can compete.
It's a little more expensive.
Yeah.
And so for people who maybe don't know how the trip runs, I think one of the unique things about the way that you do this ski trip is how the housing, so could you just
Sure,
explain how that
Sure.
works?
So this all started a few years back when a group of students approached the chaperones to talk about interest in this particular trip. So we had a roundtable meeting with all the ski clubs in the area, and pretty much we modeled our trip after what Hatboro Horsham does and what Perkiomen Valley does. They kind of, laid all the groundwork for the trip, and so we modeled our trip after that. It's a trip where, it's really unique because the kids are very independent in the sense that it helps them with responsibility. They cook, they clean, they have to act accordingly, and they're in public, and it's great to see kids problem solve. We rent a house near the mountain just to help with cost. And basically we do all the shopping prior. We hire a company that does all that for us, so everything's already arranged for the kids, and it's up to them to, like I said, cook and clean and be responsible. In years past, they really came together and worked well as far as making all the meals together, and sometimes we'll assign one vehicle cleanup, sometimes the other vehicle does the cooking. And the other great thing about this trip is that it teaches them, life skills and responsibility where, they have this trip coming up in a year, and it's up to them to manage their money and get a job and do all the things necessary in order to get to that place. We've had tremendous success. We average about 20 students a year for the past 3 years. We've never had any discipline issues. Our kids have been fantastic. The kids have to write a short little essay as to why they should go. The list of students attending a trip goes out to staff, and if there's any reservations, I ask that the staff get back to me, and we've never had that issue. For the most part, they are upperclassmen so far, just by having a pre-meeting to gauge interest. It's mainly seniors. It's a great way for seniors to kind of finish their ski and board club career with a trip like this. A lot of these kids have been in ski club all throughout middle school and high school, and it's a great culminating activity for them.
Thank you.
When you buy their lift tickets, do you get them an Icon pass, or do you?
No, that's definitely something we could look into. It depends, just because we change our mountains every year, I'd have to look and see the price of the Icon Pass and what mountains that's good for. Again, because we try to give them an opportunity to go to different mountains, it may not cover all of those.
Right, because I know the Icon covers Killington, Squaw, and it does California. So I didn't know if you did it for both.
A lot of those passes are in excess of $500, which might price them out for what we do with our group.
Okay, I wasn't sure the
Yeah,
price
it's
difference.
definitely something to look into.
Like, because, $120 a day for a lift ticket. I was just thinking about saving money, that was all.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last overnight trip we have listed here didn't really fit into our blanket statement that we do at the beginning of the school year, because that's really kind of covers us up to state competition levels. And also because she was excited to be here, she's very proud. So if there's any questions, Linda Reed is here. And the next trip is the High School Odyssey of the Mind World Finals. And as you know, we recognized those students at the last board meeting. This year it's at Iowa State University from May 23rd through May 27th. If there's any questions about that competition or how that trip works, I can tell you that the district treated this similarly to the Central Middle School trip last year when Odyssey made it to the World Finals, and the district did contribute $3,000 towards registration. And this year, the Education Foundation also contributed $500 to defer the costs. So on her trip template, you'll see both of those incorporated into the student cost section. Any questions for Linda?
I would just like to say congratulations, Linda, and good luck.
And thank you for being willing to coach Odyssey of the Mind.
Thank you both very much.
Does anybody have any questions about the trip? I think it's fantastic that you guys are going to compete. Pennridge has a great reputation for Odyssey of the Mind, so we wish you a lot of luck.
Mrs. Cullen, Linda is running a fundraiser. Would it be appropriate for Linda to share that tonight?
Please do. Thank you, Mrs. Miller. We have been doing some fundraising, and we have our final fundraiser organised for May 21st. Everybody here and your friends and family are invited to join us at Chipotle for dinner in Montgomeryville at the Airport Square Mall. And Chipotle generously give us 50% of the take-ins. So it's a really generous fundraiser, and we hope to raise lots of money. So please come.
It's on my calendar, by the way.
Thank you.
I just want to wish you the best of luck.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Thanks for your support.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the aquatics financial update and pool schedule.
Okay, and Mr. Grant is here from the high school, so he's covering the two items, they're both in the same line there, the aquatics financial and the pool schedule. He has provided, you'll see there, the breakdown, including expenses, and kind of what the net is after expenses. If there's any questions about that piece. This is an annual report that he provides for the activities committee, so there's nothing unusual as far as why we're doing this. This is an annual update he provides as far as kind of what they're doing at the school, how they're using the facility, and then also how the finances are shaking out, because it is supposed to be self-sustaining. Did you want to give a brief summary there?
Yeah.
They have it in front of them here. I know it's not projected there, but they do have it up here.
Okay. Yeah, just as you see at the top for the finances, we have several different ways that we bring in money. Swim lessons, swim clinics, water polo clinics, and then we do outside rentals. This year we had two main ones. That would be the Pennridge Aquatic Club, and then the North Penn YMCA rents out. It's technically North Penn YMCA because they're the hosts, but they have to have their championship meet for the YMCA League at a neutral site, so they come here to do that. So that's a Saturday and Sunday event. And then the Pennridge Aquatic Club is in here, as you can see on the schedules, which we'll get to, several nights a week in the fall and winter. And then in the spring, we shift here from outside rentals to community services, such as swim lessons, swim clinics, and water polo clinics.
Does anyone have any questions or comments on the expenses? I have kind of an unrelated, not related to the expenses, but how has the pool, we did the upgrade last year with the venting and all that. Can you let us know how
Yeah,
it's been there?
it's been so much better. We didn't have any health issues, any sort of complaints that they couldn't breathe in the water. The only time that we really feel an effect in the air change is when they shut off the boilers and when they turn them on, because it takes a little bit to adjust, but that just happens once in the fall and once in the winter, or once in the spring. So it's really dependent on the outside temperature and how fast they can pump in that air, but we really don't see any more problems with that. So it's been great. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Dr. Price, do you have the numbers, like, just to compare over the past few years, just to have a sense of how it's doing, if it's the same or better? I mean, it seems like actually the numbers are better this year, but I don't know without seeing the numbers from last year.
Actually, I believe they're a little down from last year.
Oh, are
They are, which is, we didn't run a spring water polo clinic this year, and our spring swim clinic this year was not as well attended. And I was actually looking at those today. There's about a $4,000 difference between last year and this year, all of which is from the lack of attendance from the spring swim clinic and the not running this spring water polo clinic.
Is there a reason that you think that the numbers are down?
Yeah, right now we're working with PAC to come to a new agreement for the next year. And while we're working that agreement out, they decided not to advertise for us, with them being such a big, aquatics program. When we don't get their advertisement to all their families, we didn't have the support or recognition that we were running the programs. Several of the families that are there were very surprised when they heard about it through the grapevine, and we have had more kids sign up, as it started for the swim clinic. But with the water polo clinic, you need about at least 10 to 12 to run a clinic for water polo, just based on numbers for teams and whatnot. And we only got about 6 kids to register for it this year. So we didn't go ahead and go through with it for those 6.
So I guess the question is, do you have a plan? I mean, just so that it's not going forward for advertising, so it's not so dependent on
On
the
just,
other
on
group,
just
I mean,
them.
a way to reach the community.
Yeah, in years past, we've used Joe Ferry to send out stuff to the whole district, which has worked. We didn't send that out this year, unfortunately, so we'll definitely go back to doing that to try and get it out to not only just the aquatics community through the Pennridge Aquatics Club, but to anybody in the district who is interested in joining a water polo or swim team. So it'll be broadcasted throughout the district.
Thank you.
All right, this next one, if you're looking at this on the computer, you're gonna have to hit the plus button numerous times to zoom in. I'm not sure why it came up there so tiny, but the schedule for the pool, you can see that Jacob has it laid out there each day of the week. So, Mr. Grant, if you just wanted to summarize that a little bit for us as far as usage.
Like I said, throughout the fall and the winter, we have Pennridge Aquatic Club here in the evenings. So they take up most of our time, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday afternoons actually run their home swim meets here. So for every Saturday in about October, November, and December, and then the first 2 Saturdays in January, they run swim meets here on Saturdays throughout their league. Right after school, in the fall and the winter, you'll see we either have high school water polo or high school swim team. That runs from the end of August through the middle of March. And then, like I said earlier, once those programs end, that's when we open up more community side things. So you'll see on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're running our swim lessons. On Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we're running our swim clinic currently. And then on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday afternoon, we're offering times for the community to come in and make use of the pool, whether that may be a lap swim or on Saturdays, recreational swim where they can bring their families. The diving boards are open, the basketball pools are, or the basketball hoops are out around the pool for them to use, or we do have a couple lanes set up for people that want to exercise in there as well.
I don't know if I'm reading it correctly, but so if you didn't, for some reason, you had this agreement, if PAC doesn't end up using the pool, the way I'm seeing it, it looks like you could still cover your expenses with the income from your swim lessons.
Yeah, and another thing with not having PAC would be the ability to do more swim lessons. They take up most of our evening time with parents working, not bringing their kids right after school and having high school sports in the fall. If we don't have the Pennridge Aquatic Club, the ability to run swim lessons multiple nights a week in the fall compared to just Monday nights, as you saw on the first schedule, that would be an extra source of income because every session fills up really quick with swim lessons that we do offer. We're at max, we've been at max capacity all 3 different sessions that we've run this year. So to open up more would bring in more income. So yeah, it would be great.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, I'm wondering how many people come to the community swim and I guess the recreational swim, is that more geared towards families?
So Saturdays is more geared towards family. The community lap swim is more geared towards adults that are wanting to work out. The community rec swim is a lot more popular than the lap swim. Every weekend we have families in attendance. I would say anywhere between 2 to 5 families come in, and then occasionally we'll just get some people that want to come in and work out on a Saturday. During the weeknights, we don't see as many. There's been nights where it's just been empty, which is unfortunate, but there are nights when people do come in to use the lap swim.
Is that advertised on through Mr. Ferry, through the Twitter or other ways?
It's advertised on our website, on the aquatics website. I do not know, I do not believe it has been, I think it actually was sent out in the newsletter. It may have been put in there, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it might be nice just to let people, try and get more people, and people, not necessarily just parents of students, but people out in the community also, and try and reach more people.
Yeah.
So that would be nice to get people, so everyone can use the pool.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
We can certainly include that. I know Joe's here listening. I think we sent that out inside PSD last year, at least once, probably more.
Yeah.
We definitely do that happen. Or anything else for Jacob? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time to work on this. Our next item is an update on, really it's a piece of the high school schedule. When the high school team presented to the curriculum committee, they presented an update, and part of their schedule update was what were they going to do different next year. And we talked about this concept of a RAMS period. RAMS standing for Relationships and Activities, Mastering Scholastics. And so several great things for students happening during this period. So Ms. DeBona is here along with Jamie West and Matt to talk about a little bit of a summary of where they're at with things. We asked them to come back in the spring to give an update on how things were going and were they on track to be able to implement this for this current school. So Ms. DeBona, I'm turning it over to you. Is your PowerPoint up there? Okay.
Yes, it is. I'm only laughing because you pretty much just said everything I was just going to say. But just to remind everybody, on January 8th, we presented to the school board a presentation and a recommendation for to keep our current schedule. But with that, through that process, what we learned through school visitations, research, and discussions, and over a course of several years, found that there were several components that contributed to student success outside of just the schedule. The first one was Link Crew, and Link Crew we currently have this year. It's in place, and it's a year-long transition program, mostly for 9th grade students, primarily for 9th grade students. We also found that an intervention enrichment period, time for students to improve academic success and enhance the high school experience for all students, and that's what we're here tonight to talk about. And the third piece that we found to contribute to student success is the career pathways. And that we're looking to put in place for the 1920 school year. Dr. Scheid and myself and Hillary Saplicki are currently investigating and researching how to put that in place for the high school for 1920. Career Pathways does help students and parents plan for the future by choosing and taking meaningful and relevant courses, explore careers, build knowledge, skills, and abilities for careers, and to help make connections to higher education and the business community. Of course, all three of these, it's important to note that they also provide the time to build relationships with students. So tonight, and over the course of the last few weeks, Matt Peitzman and Jamie West have been integral in the process of working through the RAMS period with a number of other folks on the committee. So they will present it, and I will wrap it up. So thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing Jamie and I to talk about this. If I can go off script just to start, I know as myself, being my second year here back at Pennridge, the previous 8, I was at another high school that offered something like this during the day. So I felt like I was able to bring in some experience with it, but then the other people on the committee, a lot of them were on the scheduling committee and visited high schools that did this, and they were able to bring in that perspective. So I really feel like what Jamie and I are going to talk to you about tonight is really well thought out and a really good solution for the challenge we have. I know Jamie and I and everybody else on the committee really believe in this and are really proud of how it came together. All right, so the RAMS period review from February, when the committee started meeting on the regular. The goal is to improve the academic success and enhance the high school experience for all students. So the two major things there is academics and enhancing their experience as well, and you'll kind of see that as we go through. Intended outcomes, developing academic supports for all students during the day, creating mentorship through small group interactions, build student engagement, and encourage enrichment across all academic settings. On the next slide here, you'll see our committee. If you look at our meeting times, so we started in late February, and then pretty much it was every week we were meeting either on a Monday or Tuesday. And then on the left side, we have people that were part of our committee. For the most part, there was a small group of us that was there every week with some of the assistant principals in and out depending on their schedules. But everybody up there contributed to this for sure.
All right, so we started this whole thing off with obviously our purpose, but also how we wanted to achieve our goal, I mean, we've seen other schools and seeing how they do it, but we wanted to see what was best for our students here at Pennridge and what this looks like for us. So when we started as a group and kind of bouncing ideas, we felt like we should really look out to all our departments and see as a whole what we all felt, because, you know, with a small group, we might be missing something. So we started this all off by talking to every department and received feedback back, and then we came back to that and tried to figure out what this RAMS looks like based off of all coursework in the high school, and what we thought would be a meaningful time, length, and any issues that would come up. So then step 2 was we developed several potential schedule scenarios, and as a committee, we created these based off of all the data collected within our building and also looking at stuff that we had seen at other schools and how it works. Once we did that, we discussed the scenarios. We basically had 3, and we did the pros and cons based off of those and narrowed it down to one that we all liked, which we're going to share in a few minutes. And then step 4 is we started to create a framework for next year to figure out how this is going to fit to reach our goals and best, fit this scenario here.
Okay, so RAMS days, so you can kind of see that RAMS is an acronym. Relationships and activities, and then mastering scholastics. So there's 2 different RAMS days that we're kind of going to work off of here. Activity days are somewhat related to or close to what might be in place now at the high school with what's called an activity schedule, where clubs can meet and you might have special pullouts depending on grade level, things like that. We felt it's important to not get rid of those, but maybe try and use them more efficiently. So activity days, you can see clubs, activities, and strengthening relationships. This is maybe what you could say is kind of like the more fun way, where you could get to see kids in a different way or get them exposed to a club or an activity that they might not normally have time to do. Assemblies can also occur during this time, which would help out teachers of mixed classes and things like that, where you have, a quarter to half of your kids get pulled out during a class period. Instead, it could happen here. And teachers ensure that students have made selections for the scholastic days on these days. So this is, what you're going to see here is that students and teachers, to an extent, pick where they're going on these days. So during activity days, students are going to be picking where they go on scholastic days. So scholastic days are for enrichment, intervention, gifted activities, and also IEP time. Students report to a selected location based on their academic strengths or needs. So something to point out there is that students can sign up to help another teacher in a room for a subject that they feel really comfortable in or really good in, or some maybe they want to pursue. So they could also be there helping students that need extra help as well. Teachers, the last item there, teachers may request students based on their academic progress. So if a student's not doing well in my class, I can say, hey, I want you there at the next scholastic day, and I will actually plug in that they're coming to see me, so they wouldn't have a choice in that matter. Whereas if teachers feel good about a student, they might, freely pick where they might go, if you will.
All right, so how this is going to work and how we thought would best benefit all of us, that it's going to occur on day 1 of the cycle. We currently have a 6-day cycle, and we thought it'd be perfect to start day 1 and then every day 1. Right now, activity schedules kind of happen here and there, and every which way. We don't really have a set day 1 or set time or schedule. In each quarter, they change. So we'd like to have it day 1, and it be set that day for the whole year, so every student would know what day this is occurring. And it's going to be that the first day would be an activity day, and then followed by 2 scholastic days, and so forth through the year that we set up. In addition to that, we do have link crew, and we want that to still be important, and not students that have to go to link crew and something else. So we figured we'd have 4 link crew times during the year to meet also, because we thought at least once a quarter for that. On a RAMS day, so on a day 1, the RAMS period would be 42 minutes. We tried to make it so it'd be feasible to get more help. Right now, our activity periods are 30 minutes, so, I mean, when a kid wants to get something done or make up a test, it's really not long enough, so we were trying to make it as close to a class period so it's more meaningful academically. So 42 minutes, and on those days, classes would now be 45 minutes, or 44 minutes compared to like 45, what it is now. And this would occur right after first period, which is the same time activities periods also occur right now. So it allows all of our students and tech students to still have first period and then stay for the RAMS period, and it doesn't affect anyone. All right, so continuing with logistics, students right now are assigned homerooms to start the year, and this would continue in September. So in the beginning of the year, they start with their homeroom, and then we figure we'd let them go a week or two to get school started, and then this will all be introduced the third cycle of the year, so the third day one. Students will have an opportunity then to select a club or activity for activity days, and students will select one of their teachers for scholastic days. As Matt explained, students can pick, a teacher in a subject they may need help for, maybe they need enrichment for, they're doing really well. If it's a teacher, a student's not doing well, a teacher can pick during that time also. But we felt, as a committee, the best way to have this be most beneficial for students would to have them have some selection also. And we saw many schools out there that do this. Some of them choose once a quarter, some choose once a semester, some choose almost every day at some schools. And we thought it'd be good to do basically every 3 weeks. So they would choose on an activity day, and you see the little chart. The yellow is the activity days, and blue are scholastic days. So it's always going to go an activity and then 2 scholastics, an activity, 2 scholastics. So on that activity day, they would choose for the next days following that until the next activity. So say they need help in history right now, they could sign up for history and just be set, for that little block of time, and then they could choose again, okay, they're good there, maybe they need some math help the next section. They could choose math, so a student's not stuck in one position for like half a year or a whole quarter. And then on top of that, go to the next one. There's kind of how it will look in the year. I know it's not the whole year, but there's 4 months of it. I know starting in January, we just took a part of it. That the yellow shows the activity and the blue shows the scholastic. If you notice on some of those months, like on January there, those little star days, that would be the end of the quarter. So it actually kind of fits out nice when we planned it out that, we have scholastic days towards the end of each quarter. And, activities kind of start the next one and go through that. So you can kind of see every month has at least 1 activity and 2 scholastic days. And then this is something we plan on posting next year so everyone sees it throughout the year. Obviously, it will have to be updated with snow days and stuff like that, but they will know going in when everything will occur, the students and the teachers. And as we said, the one thing I didn't say on the last slide was, the one thing we did notice at talking to all the schools and seeing that one of the things that are most useful is that there's some kind of software portal that students can select, teachers can select, and it's used for attendance and accountability and obviously safety of our kids too, so we know exactly where they all need to be. Just going to bring me back to Ms. DeBona to talk about what else needs to be done.
Can I add something real quick? Something else I want to make sure we understand about this is with this software piece and that the period's longer, right now students come to us for a homeroom during an activity schedule and they might not be staying with me. So they then need a pass from me or another teacher, and then there's a lot of kids in the hallway, and then you're shrinking that time even more. This plan that we're showing you, not only is the period longer, but we're trying to cut down dramatically kids in the hallway during the period, and we think this is definitely going to do that, which was kind of a sub-goal, if you will, of ours. So I wanted to make sure we pointed that out as well.
And I think just to follow up on the software program, we've met 9 times. We've done a tremendous amount of work in those 9 meetings. Special thanks to Matt and to Jamie and the other folks that are here tonight who were on that committee or are on that committee. We just started looking at the software, talking with other schools, researching schools around the country that use a software program for periods such as this. This past week was the first software enriching students that we did a webinar on. So it does just that. Like Mr. Heitzman said, it allows students to sign up, it allows teachers to request students, it dramatically cuts down, or will cut down on students in the hall, and increase the time that students are in the classes or the activities that they should be in. Some other things that we're still working through the process as we continue to meet the remainder of the year. We'll have to have somebody a point person that is staff member to manage yearly schedule, teacher options, student selections, and the software program. As Mr. Peitzman and Ms. West also commented, we'll have to look at specialized home rooms, how they can be created for student groups such as student council, NHS, exec council, if we choose to go that route. We'll have to also take a look at our daily bell schedule. May need to be updated to accommodate, will need to be updated to accommodate the RAMS period. And of course, and very importantly, we would have to provide professional development for the teachers, both for the RAMS period and also the software program that we may use. We will continue to meet and provide you updates as we refine the process and refine what it will look like for next year. But that was our goal, to include an enrichment and remediation period that we're calling RAMS for the 18-19 school year. And I think we're well on our way, and I'm really proud of everything that has been accomplished to this point. So any questions?
We don't have any software right now that could do this? It's too bad.
We don't, and it is unfortunate. That was something that we had to consider, what options PowerSchool gives us, and PowerSchool does give us options for attendance and things like that. It does not give us an option to select students and assign students or request students. It does, on the flip side, it does not give students the ability to say, I need to see Mr. Peitzman in class. It does not allow us to do that. Neither does Canvas. The other selection, and the other point, this was, we don't want to give up PowerSchool because it's a huge part of our process. So what software programs are out there that will talk to PowerSchool and also Canvas? And so the webinar that we attended last week does just that. And there are others, but we are investigating. We're just at that starting point of the investigation process.
How much? And if they wanted to see two teachers, could they, if they had to? I was just thinking, or is it strictly one teacher? And
Well, that was one thing. We also decided at first, like looking at some of the schools that, like I said, they assign it like a semester at a time. We thought that's not really meaningful if they need help, and that's why we thought to start this all off. Like we know Hacker, they're doing it literally every week, and like sometimes even daily changing, because they have their hacks time, they call it. They have it every day. We thought to start this off, that's way too much. We figured once a cycle would be perfect, and started off this way that we do kind of twice and choose every 3 weeks if it's possible. You know, if the software, we don't know what we can do yet, if there's software that we can change, and we do want to look into that, but at least have the option that they can change. They might not be able to see two in a period, or maybe at least one this cycle, one the next cycle, and have that option. But that's still something, you know, we definitely debated in the committee for the last couple of weeks of what would be most beneficial, but not chaotic. Also,
yeah, I mean, once I asked the question, I was thinking the reason you want to do this way is so you don't have as many kids in the hallways. So that would, if they're switching to different teachers, that would defeat that purpose. So I didn't think of it until the words came out of my mouth. And then on the calendar, I always touch the screen, it's not a touch screen. On that blank week, so you have the yellow, blue, and then there's a blank, is that where you perceive the Link Crew Day to be in there somewhere?
well, we actually planned, the Link Crew days actually aren't fully on here. This was just the day ones. Actually, the first Link Crew would actually be the first activity day in September we planned, because that's still, you know, freshmen welcoming back. So it'd actually be the second or seventh day of the cycle. Second day one would be actually a Link Crew, and then the other three, we were looking at when it would best fit and like dates kind of the beginning of each quarter, and it might be an additional day, like an extra activity day we were kind of looking at. So we didn't want to penalize those that are involved in Link Crew to miss like an activity and still have everything involved with that.
Does anyone else have questions?
I just have two, and I think you've addressed the one because you're so early in the software selection process. So I'll leave that alone, and as you go through it, you can come back to us with costs, obviously.
Absolutely.
And the second, you spoke to, you would need someone to kind of manage this, to be responsible for the software and kind of manage this. Do you see that as a volunteer slot or something of extra duty?
We're not sure yet. It
Okay.
depends how intense the software program is, the needs of the program implementing it. So we're really not sure. That's why we listed it on the last slide as considerations, just to continue the process and implement it the best we can.
Okay,
And that'll be part of our update and recommendation when we come back.
all right, thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah, I have a question about, so if for the activity period, are they going to be going to their clubs, or is it going to be another sort of fun activity or an assembly? And then do they pick, how do they pick which club they do?
Go ahead.
Okay, so as Jamie listed the periods or the days that we'll have the activity, if we need to have an assembly, so for example, if seniors need to, or let's say sophomores have to do their ring assembly, we can schedule it for a day so that all sophomores are going to that activity during that period. Other students may be able to go to their club or their activity that they choose. So it's really up to, am I answering your question?
Yeah, no, and if they're not in a club or any activity, will they be required to choose one? I mean, we were talking about.
Well, we decided there was discussion about that at first, because I know some schools, they all make them all do a club or activity. We figured to start this all off, since it's going to be something completely new, we're going to kind of start, like I said, with a homeroom to start the year off, so kind of be like activities are now. And as we progress through, and if more kids are involved, that now we have it more structured and can have like club homerooms and more than that, because right now we only have like class councils as homerooms. If this becomes more involved, maybe the second half of the year, we can start having more like that. And I could probably talk about it more, but like at Pennsbury, some of it, if they didn't want to be in a club, some things could be that they choose to do, academic time, or kind of like like they kind of do now. If they're not in a club or activity, they're in a homeroom and a home base to do that. But as we start, we're just going to kind of do what we do now for the most part to get this underway and get choice and get this whole process going and getting students to understand what we're trying to do first.
So will they still have to sign up on the activity periods? Will they have to sign up for which club they're going to, so you know which room they're in? If the club
Yes,
has a
once we
meeting?
get the list of clubs, and that was one thing we didn't want to start this till like the third cycle in, because clubs is always like September 17th, 18th, right around those dates that they do the club carousel in the cafeteria, so the students know, because the first 2 weeks, even the incoming freshmen, they don't know what clubs are being offered, so that gives a chance to kids to see what clubs, and if they sign up for a club and what they want to be in, and to be able to do that.
Right, and is there thought, some of it is saying like if it's starting off with the homeroom, but then maybe would the idea be to make it a little bit like 11th period in the middle school where everybody has an activity?
Yes, I mean, that would be the goal, but we'll see if, high schoolers don't always want to fully be involved in a club or anything, but yeah.
Right.
That was the goal, to have something, so, different realm of education.
Right, thank you.
Maybe something to add here that, as I was listening, maybe we didn't quite address. One of the things we didn't want to do is have a holding area for kids who didn't pick some. So like we don't want 500 kids in the auditorium for like a study hall, so to speak, because we'd be worried about vandalism and things like that. So kids would be going somewhere, and been kicking around the idea of them going to a teacher on their schedule if they don't willingly pick something else. And then we used the terms, but maybe we didn't differentiate them enough, clubs and activities, whereas clubs are things that probably happen outside of school and after school, whereas an activity would just be like, say, a checkers club. And just those every couple days, kids go to a certain teacher to play checkers during those 40 minutes or whatever it may be. So we're hoping that as we figure all this out and share it with the high school staff, that, out of 150 teachers or whatever it is, there's going to be some for every kid. is the hope. Some of them might be sillier, some might be more serious, more of a time commitment, but something for everybody is kind of the hope, so that kids would be going somewhere during those times.
Right now, I think, if I remember the number, I think we have 54 clubs running at the high school. So we have 54 different activities for students to get involved. So ideally, we would want more activities for students to get involved so that they're not in holding pattern, but involved in the school process. So again, I think it's just a work in progress. Any other questions?
Did you
My-
want-
My only question so AM Tech students would stay for the RAMS period?
Correct.
Would that have effect on, like the cosmetology students need X amount of hours? How, will that affect them not getting enough hours at their tech shops?
That's a very good question. No, it will not. We work with the tech school all the time when we run our activity periods. And the tech, we seem to make it work. So that is a great question, but no. We've worked with the tech. They know that we're talking about this, and they work with us. Make sure the kids get their hours so they get their certificates.
I just had a quick question. So like during this activity time for clubs, if a student wants to get more one-on-one, like a teaching, would that be an option for them? Or no, is it strictly just clubs and activities?
That's a great question as well. I don't know if we approach that topic, but something that we can talk. I don't see why they would not be able to. We have students stopping in during study halls, lunches, et cetera, throughout the day to get extra help. So this would just be another time, assuming that that teacher does not have another club or responsibility at that time. So it'll be a logistical issue. But great question.
Could you use I'm just thinking, for students maybe who don't want to pick to go somewhere, and since they all have the computers, I know it's only 2 days, basically a month, but if they wanted to take something online, I don't know of any class that would be that short of an amount of time, but could they use something for cyber learning, use that time for cyber learning possibly?
What they could use it as, I don't know about cyber learning other than doing their independent homework, but what they could use it for time on Naviance, because each grade level we assign them tasks in Naviance to complete. So they could use that time so for example, creating their resume in Naviance, setting their goals when they're in 9th grade if they've not done that, so they can use that time to update it. They can also use that time to complete any surveys for SEL or any tasks that the guidance department has for the specific grade level. So it's certainly a time that can be utilized more efficiently.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you to the high school team for that. It's one thing for administration to sit down and attempt to lay out something like this, but it's another thing to have the teacher perspective and that real life input as we go through this process. So thank you everyone that was involved with that. And more update to come. We'll bring information back to the board. The next item on there is also Ms. DeBona. And this is something she was tasked with doing a little while back, actually a great while back. This was supposed to be scheduled a month or two ago, and then I believe it got snowed out and this got moved. But this is a cost comparison of graduation commencement if it was held at Stabler Arena where it currently is versus Hellman Field right here on campus. So there's lots of numbers there, and I'm not sure how much you can see this, but we wanted to at least kind of give you an idea of what was done there. And Ms. DeBona, if you would summarize for us this, and I'll preface this and just kind of remind you what Mrs. Cullen said earlier. So we're not looking to make any decision tonight. This year, graduation is at Stabler. That contract was signed and the date was set back in, I believe, November. So we have some time. So this discussion is obviously for next school year. There's been interest. Almost every year, I think this topic comes up. And we bring this up from time to time in the activities committee. This year, we wanted a more detailed look at strictly the cost. So this is one aspect that would be considered in a decision like this. So, Ms. DeMono, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. So as Dr. Price indicated, we've been at Lehigh University for quite some time. So when I was asked to do this a couple of years ago, and having gone through three, I think, graduations here at Pennridge High School, you know, there's a couple of things that are really special to that graduation. One of them, obviously everyone has their own opinion of what's special in a graduation, but when it comes to the students, and I'm thinking about the students, it's a video that they see, that they make each year. The senior class comes together and they create an amazing video. And then, of course, for the parents watching their children walk across the stage and get that diploma. And so when I started this process, or when I was charged with this responsibility, it was, how would you replicate what you do at Lehigh University? How would you replicate that? Investigate how you would replicate it so that we could have the same ceremony here at Pennridge High School at Hellman Field. So my feeling, the best way that I went about this was I took the invoice that Lehigh University gives us, because it's broken down, and then I created a Hellman Field invoice, so to speak. I could not go do exactly what we do at Lehigh University, because Lehigh University, for example, has their own police force, where obviously we do not. So I had to add in some of those things that we would have to outsource here at Pennridge High School. So if you look at the screen that's hopefully in front of you, and again, if you're looking down the left-hand side, on the left side of the red line, that is essentially the invoice that Lehigh University gives us. I have the actual for 2017 for Lehigh University, and I have the estimated, so for this current year. So for the facility rental, you can see it's in bold letters, and then I have a yellow line which gives the subtotal. Any of the figures that you see up here under Hellman Field, any of the figures, so for example, the rental, under the facility rental, the arena setup, all the figures are invoices from either in-house, from our maintenance, from our nutritional services, or from the other outside businesses that we would use to run the graduation. So under facility rental, you see $12,000 for a subtotal. For Hellman Field, it is more, because we would have to have a setup, a stage setup. Now please keep in mind, for Pennridge, if we were to hold a graduation here, we would have to have two setups. We'd have to have two equal setups, one up on Hellman Field and one in the building in the event of rain. So those two setups would need to be prepared to go at a moment's notice. Under event staff, under Lehigh Stabler Arena, they have site supervisors, Lehigh Police, parkers, ushers, and then ticket staff, for a total of, for the estimated for 2018, $57.99. I had to work with Percy Borough Police, I had to work with Pennridge Regional, our local fire police, of course our own security officers. I added a golf transport in there for older folks that might need, or folks that are injured that might need a golf transport to the stadium. And of course, teachers that I would need to have on site to help make the event smoother. And that comes to $85.05. Under general expenses, we certainly would save some money in the ticket printing, because Lehigh University would not be printing our tickets. And I'm trying to coordinate this, because I think mine is different than yours. Ticket printing, electrical usage, you can see some lines under Hellman that we wouldn't have that cost. Chair rentals and ADA stage ramp for Lehigh University for a subtotal of $988. For us, it would be $1,044. Keep in mind, once again, we'd have to have chairs inside and out, and then of course we have our own folks that would do the labor of setting up the chairs. For fire, external police and fire EMT, Lower Saucon Police, for those of you who don't know, as we make our way from Pennridge High School to Saucon Valley, or to Lehigh University, Lower Saucon Police meet our 15, 16, 17 buses, depending on how many we need each year, and they escort our buses right through the town, right into Lehigh University, where Lehigh University picks it up. Obviously, we wouldn't have that cost here, so we save some money there. But of course, we would need to have medical service EMT on standby. Those costs there came from the athletic department, and that is what they use for our events up at the stadium. And of course, ambulance standby as well.